Gregory Mahalik. This is FTE 211. Today is June 28, 2023. We are going to fully disassemble a Rock Island 1911. Here's the firearm we're going to disassemble. We're going to make sure this weapon is safe and free and clear of any source of ammunition. The magazine has been removed. We can see daylight through the magazine well, through the ejection port, and if we look inside, we can see in the chamber that there is no ammunition. This weapon is now free and clear and is ready to be disassembled. So today's plan is we're going to fully disassemble this whole entire firearm and reassemble it. And this is not a field strip. This is going to be a detailed removal of all components, and then we will discuss what some of those components are. The tools are, we have is from Kimber. I've got a Kimber Rapide Dawn. This is the tool that they use to take down and disassemble their 1911. We have a Real Avid disassembly block. One side's for officer, one side for government, as well as some brass punches, and we have screwdrivers to take the grip safeties off. So first things first, we're going to start. We're going to remove the slide. I'm going to take this camera down. So here we are. For the slide removal, we're going to have to remove this barrel bushing first, which is when this tool comes in handy. So this tool has this little tit right here. Just set it over that barrel bushing, push it down. I like to take my thumb and do this two-handed, and it's going to be a little bit off camera. But I use my thumb or my hand back here, thumb this way, and I actually take this tool, push it in, and you're going to rotate to the right side of the firearm. You got to watch as you do that because it is under spring tension. Part will come out. It's easier if you're not trying to keep it in camera and paying attention to two things at one time. So next for removals, we need to remove the slide. So we're going to take the slide, we're going to pull it back until there's a little bitty notch right there, a little half moon. We're going to run that notch up and line it up with our slide lock lever. I like to do this. I take that slide lock lever, and when I kind of move it, I can feel that slide lock lever. Slide lock lever has just a little bit of free play in it. That's how I know it's good, and I can push it out and remove it. And as you do this, you flip the gun, the slide might move, so you got to play around with it just a little bit. If you get it set just right, you can push it out with your thumb pretty easy. Slide lock lever comes off. At this point, you'll take your slide, remove it from the firearm, pull your spring. Your barrel bushing that was pointed to the right side needs to be turned and spun around to the left, pulled out, and at that point you can then remove your barrel, and now you have your slide. Field strip. For the detail strip of the slide, next we're going to take a little brass punch. Doesn't have to be any set size, just get a punch that you're comfortable with, and you can't be too big of a punch. You're going to kind of push in your fire pin. As you push that firing pin in, let me reset this. Here's your firing pin. You're going to push that firing pin and kind of slide down at one time. Push it in, slide down, that little part moves. And once you move that part, cover it, because that spring will fly out with the firing pin. There's your firing pin retainer. There's your firing pin and your firing pin spring. Next, we will need to remove the ejector. And we're going to pull that out, and I'll show you how. I said ejector, I meant extractor. That is the extractor right there. You can kind of see that little half moon full circle line right there. You can kind of just get underneath it. Solid, pull it out. They say to use a screwdriver. I don't like prying on stuff, so I don't have to pry on it. Screwdrivers bend. Just like this brass punch just bent. Now this is a brand new weapon. This has never been taken apart before. We're going to set it on this block right here. Take the punch, It's starting to come out. So we've got it to move. Oh, sucker's in there good. Let me grab a hammer. Here's a hammer, brass. It's got a nylon bushing on one end. It's a very lightweight hammer. Not one that you're going to severely beat components with, but can be used just to kind of lightly tap parts around. Brass on brass. Ooh, a little far. There we go. I was thinking about brass, it wipes right off. And then you can pull the ejector out, or extractor out. I'm sorry, I keep saying ejector. Extractor. That's where it was located at, was right there. Other than removing the rear sight, that is a fully disassembled 1911 slide. Very easy. As you see, a little hammer, brass punch, handy kimber tool that you don't need. You can do it with your thumb. And there's our components. Next is going to be the grip module. You set all these parts out of the way. Alright, so the first part on disassembly of the grip module, we're going to release and lower the hammer forward to take the pressure off of the mainspring and steer spring. So pull the hammer, get your fingers on it, good grasp, pull your trigger, release it forward. Do not just pull and dry fire, as you will mar these surfaces down here. If you just dry fire, this area right here will take damage. So grip it, release it, let it go forward. Take the bench block, doesn't matter which side for this part. Set your firearm on it, and we're going to drift out the spring, or the retaining pin. This is where you're going to need appropriate size punch. Just put it on there. Little light taps, nothing too drastic. Get to the point where you should just be able to, you can hold it in your hand. Pull it the rest of the way out. You're going to then slide this down just a little ways. Don't slide it all the way. Just releasing pressure off of that mainspring. Next, we will pull our safety out. It's just wiggling. You want to watch, because there's a spring and a plunger in here. You want to watch as you pull the safety out that it doesn't shoot off. So just take some work in it. You can even come down over here, push on the pins a little. It's going to take a little while, just some pulling on it. As you can see, I've already got it to start coming out. Try to keep your hand over the top. This is kind of where it's cumbersome. You can't see what I'm doing. I'm working on my hands, but you're just slowly rocking it back and forth and pulling on it. You just want to make sure the spring does not go flying. So I've got spring pressure off the plunger. Plunger's still in there. So at this point, we don't have to worry about flying. We can continue to pull it the rest of the way out. This time, you can pull your grip safety. Here's your main springs, your hammer, kind of an inner workings of the back of the gun. So at this time, pull that off, releasing your mainspring. Here's your shear spring, mainspring housing. At this point, then, now we can take a little punch and just push the pin, and there goes your hammer. We'll set this over here on our towel, keep everything clean, keep it all protected. Also, we have the plunger right here and spring. We're going to remove that. Be sure not to lose them little bitty pieces. If you lose them, it's not any good. At this point, we are now going to pull the grip safeties. Stand by while I grab a screwdriver. So anytime you're doing gunsmithing, you need to use special gunsmithing screwdrivers. The way that they are ground is different than a standard screwdriver. Standard screwdriver can strip screws, so make sure you always use gunsmithing. These are Grace USA's. Use appropriate tools for the appropriate job. Pull grip screw. Pull the grip screw out. Reach inside if you can. Pop them off from the inside. Ooh. Popped off a little harder than I thought. Now come over to the other side. Repeat the process. Unscrew. Unscrew and ooh, don't get your finger stuck. There you go. A little love tap. They're a little tight. We are almost fully disassembled. We still have some pieces for the trigger. We still have the magazine release. There's some other sear stuff in here that we're going to remove. For the magazine release, you have this little screw head looking deal here. All that is a little keeper in there. Just going to turn it. Got to push in on your mag button. Turn it at a, if it's at 12, turn it to 9. And that allows your whole entire mag release to come right out of the housing. Next we have our sear pin. It's already wanting to kind of come out. It's this little pin right here. On this other side, it's identified right here. Little pin. There's our two components. Here's your trigger. And you now have a fully disassembled 1911 slide. We're going to lay all the parts out and we're going to name them all. So stand by. Here is the exploded view of the 1911. Barrel bushing, barrel. Here's your spring. Grip. There's the screws for the grip. Of course, your slide. Firing pin and spring. Ejector. Here is your lower grip module. This is your takedown. Here's the trigger. Here's the plunger and spring. This is your magazine release. 2 pins. Third pin. Here is your mainspring housing retainer. Here's the mainspring sear spring. This is the hammer. Here's your sears. Here's the grip safety. This is your thumb safety. There's the firing pin retainer. And that is a 1911 fully disassembled.